Episode 2 of Season 4 of The Flash opens with, I guess, a viewing of Oliver slash Ray's old apartment, since first, technically, it was Ray's apartment, then everyone thought he died after he shrunk himself down. Then Oliver bought it. Then his relationship with Felicity went downhill, and then they sold it again. And I'm surprised no one bought it yet. Oh well, then I guess Kurt Reaver, the billionaire who was trying to buy it, just goes into an elevator, and then the words Kilgore, or I thought for sure that was a Z, but probably no, since his name is Kilgore, appears in the high-tech elevator as he's slowly, well, quickly brought up and down the floors and killed, just like Final Destination, but not that gory and not that much blood. Which I kind of wish it, I know it can't, but kind of wish it would do something, because it doesn't really feel like he died if, well, the elevator was surely destroyed. I just feel like there should have been at least a little bit more blood or something. So then he dies, and then Barry dances in his underwear for no reason, makes breakfast all for himself, nothing for Iris. Doesn't even finish the breakfast, just still pancakes and sausage lying on the table. And then he goes to work. He's much happier now. He has a fresh new clean slate after being released from the Speed Force. And it's like the beginning of, I want to say, most of the Flash seasons, where he's really happy, then something terrible happens, and then he's just depressed through most of it. Kind of wish there was, like, I guess a happy middle. Because I want Barry happy, but not too happy, if that makes sense. And then Cisco shows Barry all the improvements he made to the suit, which are self-repairing armor, nanoliquid circuitry, full spectrum scanning, and a custom HUD, and some other things that Barry didn't look through his instruction manual for. Even though he did all of Iris's wedding planning, well, their wedding planning, and caught up on 6 months of TV shows, but he won't read a manual. But I guess it really doesn't matter, because it wouldn't have helped him later on, really. And then finally noticed Wally's new haircut, which it's kind of weird because it makes him almost seem goth, but it's just weird. It's like out of place since I'm so used to his old hairstyle, I guess. But maybe I'll get used to it. And then Gypsy shows up out of nowhere for Cisco's date and almost gets shot by Wally and crew. But Cisco stops them before anything can happen. And then Kilgore goes after his next victim by trying to crash his car. Just like in all the other, like, detective TV shows I watch. I feel like that's happened at least 2 or 3 times. And then Caitlin eventually convinces Iris that Barry and Iris need therapy. So she goes to couples therapy, and it works out, and Barry knows the world knows that Oliver is is the arrow from a magazine on the table, but I guess they're not too worried about that for now. Probably catch up to him later, though. So they talk through some of the problems, but can't really go into too much detail because of the Flash, and eventually has to run off after Joe's pushes the emergency alert and saves him from a dead grenade, I guess, since there wasn't that big of an explosion. So Barry saves the day again, since he saved the guy that almost died in the car earlier. Then later he goes back to awkward therapy with Iris, and then get to the real heart of the problem where Iris feels like he left her all alone there and just went into the Speed Force out of nowhere. But technically she wasn't alone. Joe and Wally, the rest were there, but I guess she mostly means emotionally. Which I can see, but I guess 6 months isn't enough time to really forget about that. So then Cisco is trying to decode the hacker virus that's been attacking technology, which he can't do yet. So as he figures that out, he cancels his date with Gypsy. But then that leaves Gypsy upset since it's 111 day, which is basically just Valentine's Day. But then he gives her an idea to invert the code for the metahuman attacking people. So as he goes and do that, Wally and Joe are watching out for Tim as he visits Sheila to warn her about Kilgore. And I'm surprised Joe and Wally just didn't walk inside with them. Unless they were trying to catch Kilgore, but well, it still didn't work out as planned, and Sheila didn't really help matters either. She was pretty much arrogant and just rubbing salt into old wounds after they stole everything from Deacon, which made him upset and went to kill his team members. And of course she's diabetic, so he tried to kill her by giving her too much insulin. So then Kilgore kidnaps Tim. They traps him in a saw-like contraption, but Barry and Wally get there just in time. But then Kilgore senses the technology in Barry's suit and overtakes it, knocks out Wally, and Wally does nothing once again. Just stands there even though he's a speedster. Well, then Barry loses control of the suit, calls for Cisco, wonders why he added all these unnecessary things to his suit. And then Iris has the brilliant idea for Barry to basically electrocute himself by throwing lightning, which works somehow. Iris and Barry make up. They communicate a little better as they work together. And then the next day, Deacon is put in Iron Heights. And the set has Joan and Wally walk out, look just like the set of Argus when Flash broke into Argus and ran into, with Captain Cold, and ran into King Shark. Probably it's just the same set. Kinda wish they made it a little bit different, but oh well. The metahuman wing of Iron Heights will just always look like Argus. And of course Barry and Joe question Deacon of how he got his powers if he wasn't in Central City at the same time as the Particle Accelerator, since he was in Silicon Valley instead. And he basically implied that someone gave him his powers, which it doesn't seem like it's the Thinker, but because of what he says at the end, but it's still according to all of his plans, so because he has to find them. He doesn't know where they are unless he just released like a gas over Silicon Valley and has to find which people actually turn into metahumans. I guess that could work. And 12 of them in all. 12 possible metahumans, 1 down, 11 more to go. So I guess the Thinker's plan so far is just for Barry to catch all the Silicon Valley metahumans, throw them in Iron Heights, and then break them all out at once to defeat Barry. Or take him down, I guess. That could be one of his plans, but I feel like it has to be more than that, since the Thinker is obviously going for a long con. And probably the entire season. An entire season-long plan to defeat Barry. But then why would he want him out of the Speed Force just to defeat him? Doesn't quite make sense, but I feel like he needs something from Barry. That's the only reason he would get him out of the Speed Force in the first place. It's the only thing that makes sense.